врагу, но и продолжать свой рост.
How is Russia managing to keep afloat and keep growing?
Знаете, когда у нас
You know,
все спокойно,
when everything
размеренно,
is calm and
стабильно,
tranquil and
нам
stable,
скучно.
we're bored.
Застой.
Well, it's stagnation. We want some commotion. As soon as some commotion starts, and we see bullets whistling and time flying rapidly, we get scared to our wits. Well, it's horrible. It's a great deal of horror. But, you know, it's actually not. It's all about the economy, and we start with the economy. Despite your provocative question, the economy underlies everything. It's the main foundation prescribing and determining the living standards of our people and the stability and the defensive capability. Everything is based on the economy. And the economic situation in this country, by and large, is normal, is stable. We keep advancing against all odds, despite external threats and attempts to impact us. Last year, the economic growth was at 3.6% in annualized terms, and this year it's going to be at 3.9 or even 4%. We'll have to double-check that, because at the end of the year, well, we will see some numbers, and we will recap in the first quarter 2025.
And probably the level will even be 4%, meaning that over the 4 years, the economic growth amounted to about 8%. According to experts with whom I've exchanged opinions this morning, over the past years, the figure is, as I said, it was 5.6% in the US and 0.0% in the EU. In the leading European economy, the economic growth amounts to 0, and it is estimated to be so in the coming year too. International financial institutions, economic institutions, placed Russia number 1 in Europe in terms of purchasing power parity, and it ranks number 4 in the world. China, the US, India are ahead of us, and we are ahead of Germany. We were ahead of Germany in the past year too, and this year we are ahead of Japan. But you know, it is not something that we should take for granted, that we should relax. Everything is in the motion, everything is moving forward and advancing. If while the European zone, the Eurozone is falling asleep, it doesn't mean that there are no other economic centers that are emerging. In the United States, the situation is evolving, so we have to keep this ratio, we have to change the quality of our economy, and there are other figures and indicators which are satisfactory, to put it mildly. One of the most serious figures and indicators for all economies of the world is the unemployment level, and it is at a record low in our country at 2.3%. It is unseen. It hasn't been seen before. It is number 1. Point 2. There is a growth in some industries. The industrial growth amounts to 4.4%, and processing industry is growing at a ratio of 8.1%. In some industries, some branches, the growth is even higher. Inflation rate is an alarming signal. While I was preparing for today's press conference, I spoke to the governor of central bank. According to Ms. Nabiulina, inflation is now at 9.3, 9.9, but the income of the population has grown too. So on the whole, the situation is stable. We have some problems with inflation. The economy is a bit overheated. The government and central bank has set themselves the goal of decreasing this ratio, and according to various estimates, it is expected to be at 2 or 2.3% in order to preserve the macroeconomic indicators. It is something we should seek to achieve, and we are going to discuss it in more detail during today's press conference. But on the whole, the situation is stable. There is one clarifying question, if you allow. You cited Germany and Japan as an example. I would like to speak about Germany. You said the economic growth is at 0%, but it was previously a center of economic growth. Does it have to do with the politics and the sovereignty? Because recently at the Russia Calling Forum, you said that when you celebrated the Gerhard Schröder's anniversary, all songs were sung in English, and there were no German songs. Yes, they were. It was a long time ago. Mr. Schröder celebrated his anniversary, and he invited me, and I attended. There was a small concert, and everyone sang songs in English, and I said even a choir of girls from Hanover presented songs in English, but there was one troupe that sang songs in German. It was the Cuban Cossack Corps. It was unexpected for me. I asked them how they learned this song, and they said, out of respect to the Germans, out of respect to the hosts, we learned this song during our travel, and we presented it in German. Later, I was approached by many guests. I'm telling you how it was. And many people told me, we are ashamed. We are ashamed that only Russian Cossacks sang in German. And I said it to my colleague who was present at that forum. I told him sovereignty is an important thing. It should be deep in your heart. And I believe in the post-war era, the German people no longer feel their sovereignty. Who are Europeans? They are proud of being Europeans. But above all, they are French, German, Italian, Spanish, and only after that they are Europeans. But instead, they try to polish things. And in the end, you see it impacting everything, including economy. I mentioned the economic growth in our country, and largely it is a result of strengthening of our sovereignty that is projected on the economic situation. Many producers lost our market. Where does it bring us? Our industrialists started producing these same products. It necessitated various research, so we involved various institutions, including development institutions. And on the whole, it translated into the strengthening of our technological sovereignty. There might be different sovereignty in the fields of education, industry, military. It is important for our country, and for our country it is of particular importance, because if we lose sovereignty, we lose our statehood. That's crucial. And strengthening the sovereignty is also a result of economic growth. Mr. President, now I suggest that we move on to questions from our citizens. You mentioned the economic growth. Indeed, if we look at the economic figures, they look all right. Most of Russian plants are working tight, but the payments are below the inflation. We have made a rating of regions in which citizens asked most questions about price growth. It was in Kamchatka, in Sakhalinsk region, and in the most western region of our country, in Kaliningrad Oblast. And the price growth was a relevant question in Irkutsk. I will add some more figures. Our GigaChat provides us with some statistics. Most popular questions had to deal with price growths of bread, fish, and butter. They also ask about growing fuel prices, and those are just a few question categories that we have seen. And according to Rosstat, the Russian statistics body, we see that fruit and vegetable prices have grown by 3.4% over the past week. In particular, cucumbers got 10% higher, and the price grew by 43% over the past 10 months since November. Those who are following our work via internet may know that when I spoke about the economic growth, the price growth, and high inflation rate, but apart from that, there is income growth and the growth of salaries. Well, we have a vast country, and some people might say, how can we speak about the welfare growth? But at the same time, some people would say that the income was reduced. But I'm speaking about the average figures. When we plan something, we have to base on something, and we cannot base on anything else but average figures. As for the price growth, there are objective things and subjective things. Objective things are the following, and most crucially, the supply on the market should be in line with the purchasing power of the citizens, and it should be also in line with the volumes of produced products. But production growth was higher in our country than the income growth. Let me give you an example. Food production is growing constantly in our country. If we have some questions in agriculture, we might go into detail, but I'll tell you already now, plus 3% annually. In terms of meat production, we completely cover our demand. It is a good figure. But why is it so? Meat consumption per year is at about 80 kilos per person, while it is 42 kilos in the world. It is an average in the world. It would seem that it is enough, but at the same time, the meat consumption has doubled over the recent time. Doubled. As for milk, annually the milk production is growing, but milk consumption is growing too. It is not enough in order to produce butter. And I know that the growth of butter prices amounts to 33–34% in some regions, and it might be even higher in other regions. The consumption has grown faster than the production. There is a second objective reason, yes, and we have to change the situation in the industry. There is another objective reason, that is a growth of prices of certain products in the world, and there are sanctions and restrictions. They are not playing a decisive role, but they have their impact because they make logistics more expensive. And there are objective reasons too. Like some experts believe that the central bank could be more effective and efficient, and it could have started using certain instruments not related to the growth of interest rate a bit earlier. Yes, central banks started doing so in summer, but according to some experts, it should have been and could have been done a bit earlier. There are lots of reasons. I'm not going to list all of them and bore our audience with all these considerations related to various ways of regulations by the central bank. As for the government, it is working efficiently. I'm quite satisfied with its performance, and it is doing a lot. When it looks into the future, we always should look into the future. Even in the hardest and the most severe times of the Great Patriotic War, we know of such examples. people were looking into the future, and it was the right thing to do, as it turned out later. That's what our government is doing. It sets out national development goals, national projects, and so on. That's great. But it would be not bad to work with the industries, to think about the development of certain industries of such products or for which there is a broad demand. Probably there will be questions related to specific industries, and timely decisions have to be taken. It is an unpleasant thing to say, and it is bad. Price growth is something bad. But I hope that on the whole, while preserving the macroeconomic figures, we'll be able to tackle this as well. Mr. President, we have a mixed format today. The direct line is a press conference, and I suggest that we now give the floor, and we see that the audience is willing to ask questions. Yes, indeed. Mr. Peskov, well, if we do what you propose, it will mean disrespect to the others. What's your name, please? Alina Hasaeva, the 15th region, North Ossetia. In today's realities, the human rights potential is a very important issue in North Caucasus. There are many educational institutions preparing military experts, particularly the North Caucasus Military Institute. It is a legendary institution. 7 alumni are heroes of the Soviet Union. Some of them are heroes of Russia. They continue to perform military tasks of our country. Anatoly Kulikov is one of alumni, and one of the most recent alumni is Sergei Hayrudinov. He became hero of Russia during the special military operation. Is it possible to revive this military institution that is so relevant and so important, not only in the North Caucasus, but in the whole Russia?
Thank you, Alina, for this question. This is a very good question. Please don't be cross with Alina. Why? Because North Ossetia has always been at the forefront for Russia in this regard in the Caucasus. And throughout the times, it's proven to be useful in performing this high duty. And we know how the citizens of the Republic treat their motherland and their homeland. They have always defended the motherland. They have always performed this function nobly and with great success. You spoke about the decrease of the number of military vocational institutions. It's not about just closing it down in Ossetia. It's a thing that the network for military colleges in general, as the military specialists and the defense ministry thought it was out of proportion. There was no need for such a number of specialists for such an army as the Russian army, as it used to be. Now we're increasing the army in the numbers as well as a number of other institutions up to 1.5 million people. I cannot say that we will do that tomorrow, but we will work on it. That I can promise. Thank you. Working with the audience, let's go back to the center. Idar Tas, please, you have the floor. The mic, please, to the center. Thank you. Mikhail Petrov, TASS Editor-in-Chief. Before asking the question, Mr. President, I would like to thank you. This year, TASS is celebrating 120 years. We're the oldest information agency of the country. This year, in August, you have signed a decree to award the Order of Honorable Labor to our institution, and I would like to thank you for this. This is a high evaluation of our work. Thank you. As for the question, I think it concerns everyone today, I guess. During the Great Patriotic War, TASS were relaying the information from the front. I think it happened the same way as our guys are now working in the Special Military Operations Zone. They're also worried about that. What is your take on the course of the Special Military Operation that's been going on for 3 years now? Is the victory any closer now? Naturally, I've expected such questions. There are many of them. As for the incoming questions that were coming in the past days. And moreover, I would like to thank you for this. It gives us a chance to show what we're doing there, what's happening, and what our guys are doing at the line of engagement. You know, the servicemen that whom I talk to regularly, they're giving some souvenirs to me. They're giving me their shoulder patches and so on. There's sometimes weapons as a souvenir. And quite recently, the servicemen of 155th Marine Brigade gave me a copy of the military flag, a banner. And we'd like to ask, can we ask someone to help? Could you please come up here? Yes, please. And someone on this side as well. So I have a request for you. Please stand over there, and you over here. And please unfold the banner. On the other way around. The Marines of the Pacific Fleet, I took it with me for a reason. Number one, I wanted to thank the guys for this gift. Second, let's think that this is 155th Marine Brigade, represents all military banners of our guys fighting right now for Russia, for the motherland, throughout the line of engagement. I have to say that the situation is changing drastically. You know it very well. I just wanted to confirm that. We see movement all along the front line every day. And as I have already said, it's not about moving 100 or 200 or 300 meters ahead. Our military men are regaining the territory by square kilometers every day. That's what I wanted to highlight. Why is it happening? First and foremost, throughout the last year, and this is a classic scenario of military warfare. First, the enemy is going at you, he's being defeated, he incurs losses in personnel and equipment, and then we start moving forward. That's what's happening. Warfare is complicated. Therefore, it's hard to think ahead and to foretell the future. But we are moving forward. And as I said, we're getting closer to solving our primary tasks that we have outlined at the beginning of the special military operation. As for our men and women in uniform, I will continue repeating that, because I have every reason to say that. They're acting as heroes. The capacity of our armed forces are increasing. Right now, we see the banner of 155th Brigade. It's fighting in the Kursk region. It's pushing the enemy away from our territory. They're not alone. The 810th Pacific Fleet Brigade, 76th and 106th Division of paratroopers, the shooting regiment of the North Caucasus, the motorized brigade, everyone is working there as a heroes. Right now, they're fighting, and let's wish all of them, everyone who is fighting in the Kursk region, all along the line of engagement, we wish them good luck, victory, and for them to return home safely. Mr. President, I just came back from the Kursk region. Those units and brigades that you've mentioned right now are doing their sacred duty, freeing our territory. We've worked with them for several weeks at the front line. We shot a video. 155th Brigade liberated several settlements, and we showed in our video that when the adversary has been pushed out of the settlement, he starts to shell that will artillery fire that very settlement. We traveled to Borki, Snagos, and Lubimovka, the liberated settlement. You can see that on the map. First, the houses have been intact, and now they're being destroyed, and people from the border regions have nowhere to return to. They have no homes. They're trying to rebuild their homes, but now I suggest we call Tatiana Ziborova. She's forced to live during temporary settlement. Do you hear us, Tatiana? Your question to the President, please. Mr. President, good afternoon. I'm from the Kursk region, from Bolshe-Sedatsky region. I have a question from all citizens of the Kursk region. When our region will be liberated, when the Ukrainian army will be pushed far enough so they wouldn't even dare show their face to us, even look towards us, when can we go back to our houses or somewhere so we can live in our own homes? One more question. Will small villages be rebuilt, the villages that have been destroyed? Will the infrastructure be rebuilt there? And now the question from Bolshe-Sedatsky municipality. Will our citizens be put on the list of housing certificates? Because they are not issued to us right now because the Ukrainian army did not go there, so we're not listed as qualifying for the housing certificate. Madam Ziborova, no question here. I don't even want to name the specific date when the adversary will be pushed out. Right now, at this very minute, the fight is ongoing. The fighting is quite serious. It's not quite clear. It makes no military sense to enter of the Kursk region by, the Ukrainian armed forces, or to keep on staying there, sending as cannon fodder their best storm brigades and units. Still, this is happening. It is for sure that we'll get rid of them. But as for the specific date, I cannot name you the specific date, but there are certain plans, so I know the date. It is reported to me regularly, but saying that by this very date, it would not be correct, because our servicemen can hear us right now. If I just name the date, in a day or two, they will try to deliver on that without regard for their own lives. A day or two would not have a great significance, but it is for sure that the adversary will be pushed out of there. And number two, will evaluate the detriment. And number three, everything will be rebuilt. There is no shadow of a doubt about it. We'll rebuild everything. The road network, communal infrastructure, social-oriented facilities, schools, kindergartens. We'll rebuild social clubs and, naturally, housing. We'll provide certificates to rebuild housing. Those who want to move there, will help them out. Right now, we have allocated already, I think, about 108 billion rubles. The first tranche has already been delivered. Administration will be working throughout all of the holidays. They'll be meeting with people and solving the questions also regarding the housing certificates. There is nothing good about what's happening to you. People are suffering, they have losses and tremendous inconveniences, especially with children and so on, but we'll do everything. Please do not doubt, Madam Ziborova. We'll rebuild everything, and everyone who requires housing to be rebuilt, they'll be covered. Everyone will receive everything that they're bound to receive. And I truly expect that the new head of the region, who has been appointed to the Kursk region, he's an experienced person who knows how to work with people directly. That's why I appointed him there. He has been working at the State Duma for quite a while. He knows how to work with voters. He's good at it, and I'm sure that it will happen. He will work individually, case by case. Mr. President, our servicemen who right now are liberating the Kursk region do not have the status of the participant of the special military operation. Why? Because they're participants of the counterterrorism operation. It has an impact on the payments that they receive. We received several appeals, mainly by the wives of the servicemen. My husband is serving at an assault brigade in Kursk region, and he's taking part. He received 42,000 rubles in November, though he's at the front line. Some servicemen do not receive payments for 3 months already, since they're in the counterterrorism zone, not in the special military operation zone. Yet another appeal. Kursk region servicemen receive 25,000 per month, not 210,000 rubles as promised by the Defense Ministry contract. Can it be amended? Yes, it can and it must be. This is my shortcoming. This is unexpected for me. I know what is said here. Our servicemen who used to fight at different parts